You're standing at the gates of Isfahan on a bright morning in the year 1620. The capital of the Safavid Empire stretches before you, home to 600,000 souls. The air carries scents of rosewater, saffron, and warm bread from nearby clay ovens. Shah Abbas the Great has made this desert oasis into the jewel of 17th century Persia. Today we walk through the greatest city in the Islamic world, from square to garden to river. You pass beneath massive gates of sun-baked brick where guards in quilted armor watch from above. The road beneath your feet is packed earth, worn smooth by countless caravans from distant lands. Golden light catches rising dust, creating shimmering columns that dance in the desert breeze. The city sits on the Zayande River, and every neighborhood echoes with fountains splashing. Turning down an avenue lined with plane trees, you emerge into Naqsh-e Jahan Square at long last. Your breath catches at the sight of the largest public square in the world stretching before you. It measures 500 meters long, twice the size of anything in Europe, Russia, or distant China. The square thrums with life even at this hour, a sea of color, motion, and endless, ceaseless noise. Merchants arrange carpets, lamps, and bolts of silk beneath their striped awnings flapping in wind. The scent of cardamom, roasting lamb, and tea drifts from food stalls along the square perimeter. On the southern end rises the Shah Mosque, its dome shimmering in brilliant turquoise tiles. Sunlight dances across geometric patterns of flowers and vines, creating waves of blue and pure gold. The entrance portal soars 40 meters high, covered in arabesques and flowing Quranic verses. Inside, every whisper echoes 7 times, an acoustic miracle that leaves visitors completely awed. The tilework shows paradise itself, where rivers of honey and milk flow beneath pomegranate trees. Across the square stands the Sheikh Lotfola Mosque, smaller but infinitely more delicate today. Its dome shifts color throughout the day, from pale cream at dawn to pink to burnished gold sunset. This mosque has no minaret or courtyard, built exclusively for the Shah and his royal family alone. Women in chadors of emerald and crimson silk hurry past, their eyes bright with intelligence now. Persian women of Isfahan are educated, many literate, active in commerce, poetry, and culture. On the western side, the Ali Kapu Palace rises 6 stories above the square like a watchtower. Its covered terrace, held by 18 wooden columns, overlooks polo matches, festivals, executions. The Shah himself sits here on silk cushions, watching the city perform its daily dramas far below. Musicians play the tar and santur in the music room, where the ceiling is carved like instruments. Every surface is designed for beauty and acoustics, turning the palace into a living instrument. The eastern arcade houses the entrance to the Grand Bazaar, stretching 2 kilometers underground. You step into cool shadow, relieved from the climbing heat that already builds this morning here. The vaulted brick ceiling is punctuated by circular skylights, casting columns of dusty sunlight. The air here is thick with scents of saffron, leather, tobacco, rose oil, and burning sweet incense. Thousands of shops line narrow passages, each specializing in one craft passed down for centuries. Armenian merchants from Jolfa display brocades woven with silver thread under hanging oil lamps. Indian traders offer cotton printed with indigo patterns, while Chinese silk sells for its sheer weight. Women haggle over prices, their voices rising above the general din of commerce and constant idle gossip. The bazaar is where Isfahan's wealth flows like the river, connecting east, west, and beyond. Everything from African ivory to Japanese swords can be found if you know the right merchant. Following the crowd deeper inside, you reach the caravanserais where traveling merchants sleep. These are massive courtyards surrounded by 2-story arcades, with camels tethered in the center. Men from Bukhara, Kabul, and Constantinople unload goods, and share news from their distant cities. Isfahan is the crossroads of the world, and every language under heaven echoes in these chambers. Emerging from the bazaar's northern exit, you cross a stone bridge over a narrow irrigation canal. The sound of hammering draws you toward the Armenian quarter of New Jolfa, just across the river. Shah Abbas relocated 30,000 Armenian Christians here 30 years ago for their expertise. The Vank Cathedral rises before you, its dome painted with frescoes of the Last Judgment scene. Inside, biblical scenes are rendered in Persian miniature style, a fusion of East and West in gold. The Armenian quarter smells different from Muslim sections, carrying scents of wine and roasted pork. Priests in black robes walk alongside turbaned Muslims, conversing easily in Persian and Armenian. The Armenians control Isfahan's trade with India and Europe, their printing presses producing books. They publish in half a dozen languages, spreading knowledge and profit across continents and oceans. Walking south toward the river, you pass through neighborhoods of humble, sun-baked mud brick homes. Each house turns inward around a central courtyard, hidden from the street by high walls and gates. You catch glimpses through open doors of fountains surrounded by pomegranate and fig trees now. These courtyards are cool refuges from desert heat, private gardens of paradise for common families. The sound of children's laughter mixes with the splash of water, birdsong, and mothers calling. The call to prayer echoes across the rooftops, sung from a dozen minarets at once simultaneously. The city pauses its activity, and men unroll prayer rugs in the street, facing toward far Mecca. Isfahan is a city of profound faith, where religion and commerce intertwine without contradiction. The Shah himself leads prayers at the mosque, showing that all political power flows from Allah above. But when the prayer ends, business resumes instantly, life surging forward with even renewed energy. You reach the Zayandeh River as the sun climbs toward its zenith, turning the sky white with heat. This river is Isfahan's lifeline, fed by mountain snowmelt from the Zagros range every single year. Without it, this would be barren desert, lifeless, forgotten, and buried beneath shifting sand dunes. The Si-o-se-pol Bridge stretches before you, 33 arches of honey-colored stone and mortar. It serves as both a bridge and gathering place, where lovers meet and poets recite under the moon. Water rushes beneath your feet, cool and loud, drowning out the distant noise of the city above. Families picnic on carpets, sharing platters of watermelons, grapes, and fresh ripe pomegranates. Children wade in the shallows, shrieking with delight as the cold mountain water splashes their legs. Young men practice swimming, their lean bodies cutting through the river with grace and confidence. This is where Isfahan escapes the heat, where people remember that life is meant to be pleasurable. The Kaju Bridge lies further downstream, even more beautiful than Si-o-se-pol, decorated with tiles. Its two levels allow pedestrians above and water below, with sluice gates controlling the flow. On summer evenings, musicians gather in the octagonal pavilion at the bridge's center to play. They sing ghazals of love and longing, their voices carrying across the water to listening crowds. Isfahan is a city where art matters as much as trade, beauty as much as gold, poetry as prayer. Crossing to the south bank, you enter the royal gardens of Hezar Jarib, forbidden to common people. Pathways of turquoise tile wind between flower beds bursting with roses, jasmine, and sweet hyacinths. Nightingales sing from the pomegranate trees, their voices like liquid silver pouring through air. Pavilions of carved wood offer shade, places to rest and contemplate the garden's geometric perfection. Water channels divide the space into 4 sections, each quadrant a representation of paradise here. This is the Persian garden at its zenith, the template that will be copied from Spain to Mughal India. In the distance, Chehel Sotoun Palace rises from a rectangular pool, its columns reflected in water. 40 slender columns support its terrace, though legend says their reflection doubles the number. The palace is used for receiving foreign ambassadors who are meant to be awed by Persian grandeur, and they always are, struck speechless by the wealth and artistry on full display before their eyes. Persian soldiers in plumed helmets charge across the plaster, driving enemies before their horses. Banquet scenes show the Shah dining with guests, wine flowing freely despite Islam's prohibition. Power makes its own rules here, and Isfahan is the center of power in 17th century Persia. As the sun descends toward the western mountains, you climb to the roof of a tall caravanserai tower. From here, you see the entire city spread below like a jeweled carpet woven in gold and turquoise. The twin domes of the mosques glow golden in the fading light, visible beacons for miles around. Smoke from thousands of cooking fires rises in thin columns, creating a haze that softens every edge. 600,000 people eat, pray, work, love, argue, and dream beneath this vast Persian sky. Isfahan believes it will last forever, the eternal capital of an empire stretching from sea to sea, from the Euphrates River to the Indus, from the Caucasus Mountains to the shores of the Arabian Sea. The Safavids have made this the beating heart of Islam, surpassing Cairo, Baghdad, and even Istanbul. But you know what the people here do not. That history is a wheel that turns without mercy or pause. In 100 years, Afghan invaders will reduce this magnificent city to smoking ruins and scattered ash. But Isfahan's beauty will not be forgotten, and its influence will ripple through the following centuries. The bridges will stand through invasions, the mosques will be restored, and the memory will endure forever. This is Isfahan at its zenith, a city that believed in beauty, knowledge, faith, and human achievement. A city where the desert bloomed into gardens, where poetry mattered as much as political power. Like and subscribe, because the next journey through time and space begins soon, just over the horizon.